What if the question we've been asking ourselves, what do I want to do with my life, isn't actually the right one? What if instead we should be asking, why do I exist? Purpose isn't found in titles, salaries, or job descriptions. It's rooted in something much deeper, something that drives us even when no one is watching. It's that internal compass that guides us through uncertainty, change, and pressure. Purpose is not a goal. Goals can be checked off and replaced. Purpose is a direction. It's your reason for being. And the first mistake many people make is confusing what they're good at with what they're meant to do. You can be good at a lot of things and still feel empty. Fulfillment comes when your strengths are used in service of something larger than yourself. But finding your true purpose isn't a weekend exercise or something you stumble upon during a vacation. It's a process of reflection, discomfort, curiosity, and experimentation. You have to ask hard questions. What makes you come alive? What injustice makes your blood boil? What are the patterns in your life, good or bad, that keep repeating? When you can connect your personal experiences, your values, and your talents to something meaningful, you begin to feel anchored. You begin to understand that your purpose isn't just about you. It's about others too, because real purpose lies at the intersection of who you are and the impact you can have. It's easy to chase validation, to follow what the world says success should look like, but that's not purpose, that's performance. And the danger with performance is that it depends on applause. But applause fades. Purpose doesn't. To find your true purpose, stop trying to be impressive and start trying to be useful. Pay attention to what energizes you. Look closely at where you consistently bring value. And listen, truly listen, to how people are changed when they interact with you. Because when you live with purpose, you don't just wake up to work. You wake up to contribute. And that shift from success to significance is where the real magic happens. 5 keynotes of the speech: purpose is not a destination, it's a direction. It guides you not just toward success, but toward meaning and contribution. Skills and passion are different from purpose. You can be good at many things, but true purpose aligns with what deeply matters to you and serves others. Finding purpose is a process, not an event. It requires self-inquiry, reflection, and a willingness to face discomfort and change. Purpose outlasts applause. Validation is temporary. Real purpose is internal and sustainable, even in silence. Purpose lies at the intersection of identity and impact. It's not just about who you are, but how who you are affects and uplifts others. Purpose is not a destination, it's a direction. This simple but profound truth reshapes how we think about life, success, and fulfillment. Most people are conditioned to think of purpose as a fixed point on the horizon, some grand achievement or role they are destined to reach. They imagine it like a job title, a business they'll build, a cause they'll champion, or a recognition they'll earn. But this mindset can be incredibly limiting. It can make us believe that until we reach that thing, our lives are somehow incomplete. And when we achieve it and still feel a void, we wonder what went wrong. That's because purpose is not a singular endpoint. It doesn't live in a finish line. It lives in movement, in growth, in service. It is the direction we choose, not the destination we chase. When you begin to see purpose as a direction, you relieve yourself of the pressure to figure it all out. You stop waiting for the perfect moment or the ideal job or the ultimate opportunity to fall into your lap. Instead, you begin to walk a step at a time toward the kind of person you want to be and the kind of impact you want to have. Every action, every decision, every relationship becomes part of that journey. Some of those steps will feel like progress. Others will feel like mistakes. But even the missteps become meaningful when you realize that purpose doesn't require perfection. It requires persistence and clarity of direction. The truth is, life is unpredictable. Circumstances change. Opportunities appear and disappear. People evolve. If your idea of purpose is tied to a static outcome, it can be derailed the moment something shifts. But when your purpose is a direction, it's resilient. You can change careers and still be aligned with your purpose. You can face setbacks and still feel rooted. You can explore new roles, environments, or ideas without feeling lost because your compass hasn't changed. You're still moving in the same direction, even if the terrain looks different. This mindset also opens you up to adaptability and growth. When you see purpose as a direction, you give yourself permission to learn along the way. You don't have to know everything from the start. You just need to stay connected to what matters to you, what energizes you, what feels meaningful, what helps others, and what helps you grow. The path isn't always linear. And that's okay. Sometimes it will zigzag, sometimes it will pause. But as long as you keep orienting yourself toward that deeper why, you're not lost to your learning. Seeing purpose as a direction also shifts your focus from results to contribution. When people chase purpose as a destination, they often attach their identity to outcomes. If they fail, they feel worthless. If they succeed, they fear losing it. But when you move in the direction of purpose, you focus less on what you get and more on what you give. You become more curious, more generous, more invested in the process than the prize. And ironically, that mindset tends to attract success in a more sustainable, fulfilling way. There's also freedom in this approach. It means you don't have to define your whole life in a sentence. You don't have to predict exactly what your legacy will be. You just have to keep showing up with intention, paying attention to your values, and aligning your daily actions with your deeper beliefs. It's not about having all the answers. It's about staying true to the questions that matter. Am I moving in a direction that feels right? Am I becoming someone I respect? Am I contributing something valuable to others? When you adopt this perspective, you stop comparing your journey to others because direction is personal. It's not measured by status or speed. It's measured by alignment. Two people can be in entirely different industries, doing entirely different things, and both be living with equal purpose because they're moving towards something that resonates deeply with who they are. Purpose as a direction invites you to stop chasing and start becoming. It reminds you that the journey itself is sacred, not just the outcomes. Ultimately, your purpose is not waiting for you at some far-off destination. It's with you now in how you choose to show up, how you treat others, how you respond to challenges, and how you grow. The destination is never guaranteed, but the direction is always available. Skills and passion are different from purpose. This is one of the most misunderstood ideas in personal development. Many people assume that because they're good at something or because they enjoy doing it, it must be their purpose. But being skilled in a task and being passionate about a subject doesn't automatically mean you're living in alignment with your deeper why. Skill is often developed through repetition and practice. Passion can emerge from interest or enthusiasm. But purpose, true purpose, is rooted in meaning, in service, in contribution. It's about how your unique qualities can be used to make a lasting, positive difference in the lives of others or in the world around you. People can be highly skilled and still feel empty. There are countless individuals who have built impressive careers, mastered complex skills, and gained recognition, yet silently carry a sense of dissatisfaction. They might be praised for their competence, rewarded for their results, and admired for their abilities. But inside, something feels off. That disconnect comes when what they do well does not reflect what they truly care about. Skill without purpose leads to burnout because there is no emotional fuel sustaining the effort. The same applies to passion. You might love doing something. You might lose track of time when you do it, but passion alone doesn't guarantee purpose. Passion can be personal and inward focused. Purpose always involves outward impact. Purpose asks, how does this matter beyond me? It's important to explore your skills and passions because they are tools. But tools are only useful when pointed towards something meaningful. You might have the skill of communication. You might love speaking or writing. But the purpose isn't just to speak well. It's to use that voice to inspire, educate, or elevate others. You might have a passion for design or technology, but the purpose isn't only to create. It's to build things that solve problems or bring joy or spark change. The difference lies in the intention and the impact. When you align what you're good at and what you love with what matters, you begin to operate with deeper conviction and clarity. One of the biggest risks in confusing skills or passion with purpose is that it keeps people stuck in comfort zones. When you're good at something, the world often rewards you for it. You may even become known for it. That external validation can make it hard to question whether it's truly fulfilling you. People stay in jobs, industries, or roles simply because they excel at them, even when they feel unfulfilled or disconnected. But high performance in the wrong direction is still the wrong direction. Similarly, chasing passion without purpose can feel exciting for a while, but ultimately aimless. Passion without structure or contribution can lead to frustration. You might keep starting new things, jumping from idea to idea, never quite landing on something that gives you a sense of rootedness. Purpose gives context to both skill and passion. It gives you a bigger reason to keep growing, even when things are hard. It gives your talents a place to belong, and it grounds your enthusiasm in something durable and meaningful. This is why some of the most purposeful people are not necessarily the most talented or the most passionate, but they are the most intentional. They take what they have and they aim it. They use their voice, their strengths, their energy in a direction that makes a difference. And in doing so, they tap into a well of motivation that doesn't run dry at the first sign of challenge. To truly understand your purpose, you need to move beyond self-centered questions like, what am I good at? Or what do I like? And start asking deeper questions like, where do I bring value? What problems do I care about solving? How does my work change things for others? Those questions reframe the way you see your own abilities. They help you realize that skills are vehicles, not destinations. Passion is fuel, not the journey. Purpose is the map. It's the clarity that helps you determine whether what you're doing is leading you toward fulfillment or simply keeping you busy. When your purpose becomes the foundation, your skills and passions take on new meaning. You begin to use them differently. You say yes to things not just because you can do them or because you like them, but because they fit into a broader narrative of meaning and contribution. And you say no more confidently too, because not everything that excites you or benefits you is aligned with what drives you. In the end, true purpose integrates skill and passion, but it is never defined by them alone. It demands that you go deeper and ask not just what you do well or love, but why it matters. Finding purpose is a process, not an event. This truth challenges the romanticized idea that one day you'll wake up with a sudden, crystal clear revelation about why you're here. That moment of clarity we often expect, a lightning bolt of realization, is rarely how purpose unfolds. For most people, purpose is discovered gradually, shaped by experiences, refined by reflection, and revealed through time. It's not a one-time moment of discovery, it's an ongoing commitment to exploration and growth. The process begins with self-inquiry. That means getting honest about your values, your past, your pain, your strengths, and what brings you alive. It means asking questions that don't always have immediate answers. Questions like, what moments in my life have felt the most meaningful? What challenges have shaped my worldview? What themes keep recurring in my experiences and choices? This isn't just about finding what you enjoy. It's about noticing what leaves a mark, what stirs your conscience, and what patterns persist when everything else changes. Purpose begins in awareness, but awareness takes time to develop. This process is often uncomfortable. It forces you to look beyond surface-level desires and question things you've taken for granted. You may realize that some of the goals you've been pursuing were never really yours to begin with. Maybe they were inherited from parents, absorbed from society, or built from fear. Shedding those layers can feel disorienting. But discomfort is part of the process. In fact, it's necessary. Purpose doesn't come from staying in comfort zones. It comes from challenging your assumptions, making courageous choices, and being willing to start over when something no longer fits. Along the way, you experiment, you try things, you follow curiosities, you take jobs that may not seem perfect, but offer a glimpse into what moves you. You volunteer, you collaborate, you create, you fail, you learn. All of these actions become data points. They help you see what energizes you, what drains you, and where you tend to have the most impact. The process of discovering purpose is not theoretical, it's experiential. You don't find it in your head, you find it in your life through real action and honest reflection. One of the biggest myths about purpose is that it's something you choose once and stick to forever. But in reality, your understanding of your purpose will evolve. What felt purposeful at one point in your life may shift as you grow, as your circumstances change, and as your perspective deepens. That's not a failure. It's a sign that you're staying present and connected to what's true for you in the moment. Purpose is not static. It expands with you. It adapts. It refines itself. And the process of staying aligned with it requires attention, humility, and the courage to pivot when necessary. You also begin to notice how your story fits into something bigger than yourself. At some point in the process, the focus moves from internal discovery to external contribution. You start to ask, how can my experiences help someone else? How can my talents be used in service of something greater? This shift is powerful because it anchors your purpose and impact. It moves you from personal fulfillment to shared significance, and it deepens your motivation. When purpose includes others, it becomes more resilient, more durable, and more connected to the world around you. But none of this happens in a single moment. There's no shortcut. You don't get to skip the uncertainty or fast forward through the doubt. You have to walk through it. You have to sit with hard questions. You have to stay open to being surprised. Sometimes you won't feel like you're making progress. But if you're paying attention, if you're listening to your life, you're always learning something important. And each insight, each lesson, each small step becomes part of the process that reveals your purpose over time. The beauty of seeing purpose as a process is that it gives you permission to be where you are. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just need to stay in the work, pay attention to what matters, stay curious about yourself and others, and keep showing up with intention. Over time, clarity grows, the path forward becomes clearer, and you begin to live not just with direction, but with meaning. Not because you've arrived at your purpose once and for all, but because you're committed to walking with it, learning from it, and letting it guide you one step at a time. Purpose outlasts applause. That's a concept many people struggle to fully understand, especially in a world so driven by validation, recognition, and external reward. From the moment we begin to achieve, we are conditioned to look for approval. Grades in school, promotions at work, likes on social media, praise from family, or status among peers. These forms of applause can feel incredibly gratifying, even motivating, but they're temporary and they fade quickly. When your sense of worth or direction is built on the sound of clapping hands, what happens when the applause stops? What happens when no one is watching, when no one is acknowledging your effort, when your work goes unnoticed or unrecognized? That's when the presence or absence of true purpose becomes painfully clear. People who depend solely on validation to keep moving eventually burn out. It's not because they lack talent or drive. It's because the fuel they're using isn't sustainable. Applause is external and inconsistent. It changes with opinion, timing, trends, and even luck. When your sense of purpose is tied to applause, you end up adjusting your path to please others rather than staying committed to what actually matters to you. You may start out doing something meaningful, but slowly, without noticing, you begin to chase approval instead of alignment. And in doing so, you lose connection to your original why. Purpose, on the other hand, is internal. It's not based on how many people are watching. It's based on what you know to be important, whether anyone notices or not. It's the quiet fire that keeps burning even in silence. It's what gets you out of bed when things are hard. What pushes you to keep going even when the results don't come quickly? Purpose doesn't demand an audience. It thrives in the unseen, the thankless, and the disciplined moments of showing up. It is about conviction, not attention. You see this difference most clearly during times of challenge or obscurity. When the spotlight moves away, people who rely on applause tend to lose motivation. Their performance dips, their confidence shakes, and they begin to question whether the effort is worth it. But people who are purpose-driven stay steady. That doesn't mean they never doubt or struggle, but their sense of meaning doesn't disappear when recognition does. They keep going, not because someone's clapping, but because they believe in the value of what they're doing. That belief gives them consistency. It makes them durable. And over time, it builds something much deeper than admiration. It builds integrity. This doesn't mean applause is bad. Recognition can be affirming, and encouragement is often helpful. But it's a bonus, not the foundation. When purpose is your foundation, you can appreciate applause without being controlled by it. You can listen to feedback without needing constant praise. You can share your work boldly without depending on how many people approve. This gives you freedom to experiment, to fail, to grow, and to stay aligned with what actually matters to you. It allows you to lead from authenticity rather than performance. Another trap that comes with chasing applause is that it often leads to comparison. You begin measuring your success against others, basing your direction on what's popular or praised instead of what's meaningful. You might find yourself copying trends or watering down your values just to stay visible. But purpose doesn't ask you to compete. It asks you to contribute. It invites you to bring your whole self to the table, to offer what only you can offer, and to trust that even if it's not widely seen, it still matters. Purpose creates endurance. Applause creates urgency. One leads to depth, the other to performance anxiety. One is rooted in identity, the other in image. That's why so many people, even successful ones, feel lost after reaching a milestone. They got the applause, but they didn't have the purpose. So they have to start over. But those who build from purpose first tend to last longer. Their satisfaction doesn't end when the show is over. They don't need the spotlight to feel fulfilled. They know why they do what they do, and that knowledge is enough to keep going. The true test of purpose is not in how loudly people cheer when you win, but in how willing you are to keep showing up when no one's watching. When you know your work has meaning, you don't need applause to validate it. You do it because it's right, because it's yours, and because it reflects who you are at your core. Applause fades. Trends shift, attention moves on, but purpose, real purpose, remains. And in that, you find a source of motivation that never runs dry. Purpose lies at the intersection of identity and impact. It isn't something you randomly discover or inherit. It's something that emerges when you align who you are with the difference you want to make in the world. Many people chase purpose as if it's some external goal far off in the distance, but the reality is it begins with self-awareness. Understanding your identity, your values, your story, your strengths, your worldview is the foundation. Without this, you risk building a life that looks successful from the outside but feels disconnected on the inside. Identity is not just your name or background. It's a combination of your lived experiences, the principles you stand for, the moments that have shaped your beliefs, and the gifts that are uniquely yours to give. But identity alone is not enough. Purpose is not just about knowing yourself. It's about using that self-knowledge to serve something beyond yourself. That's where impact comes in. True purpose involves taking what's true and authentic about you and applying it in a way that helps others, improves lives, solves problems, or creates value. Impact is how you show up in the world. It's the ripple effect of your choices, your presence, and your work. You might be deeply self-aware, but until you connect that awareness to meaningful contribution, you haven't fully stepped into purpose. This intersection between identity and impact is where purpose becomes alive. It's not always dramatic. It doesn't have to be tied to massive social change or world-altering ideas. It can be quiet, local, personal, and still incredibly powerful. A teacher who understands their deep value for growth and uses that to invest in young minds is living purposefully. A mechanic who takes pride in solving problems and serving their community through honest, reliable work is living purposefully. A parent who brings compassion and structure to their family, creating a safe space for growth and love, is living purposefully. Purpose is not reserved for a select few with grand visions. It's available to anyone willing to look inward and then act outward. The challenge is that many people try to skip the identity part. They want to have impact, but they haven't taken the time to really ask, who am I, or what do I care about? Without that foundation, impact can become performative. It can become about impressing others, meeting expectations, or doing what's popular instead of what's meaningful. That kind of impact is shallow and unsatisfying. It may bring attention, but it rarely brings fulfillment. Purpose requires that your impact be an extension of your truth, not something borrowed or imitated, but something born from within. At the same time, focusing solely on identity without impact can lead to isolation. Self-awareness without contribution can become self-indulgence. It can keep you stuck in your own head, overanalyzing and second-guessing without ever stepping into action. The purpose is revealed through doing, through serving, through engaging. It's in the feedback you get when your presence genuinely helps someone else. It's in the clarity you feel when your skills and story make something better. You can't think your way into purpose. You have to live your way into it. The beautiful part about this balance is that it creates sustainable motivation. When who you are fuels the work you do, and when the work you do brings real impact, you no longer need to be pushed. You're pulled. You're energized from within, and the external results, while helpful, aren't your primary driver. You get to wake up each day knowing that your effort is part of something bigger, not in a vague or abstract way, but in a real, tangible sense. And when challenges come, as they always do, that connection to identity and impact gives you resilience. You remember why you started. You remember who you are. And you remember who you're doing it for. This doesn't mean the journey is easy or the path is always clear, but it does mean that the work is worth it. When purpose lies at the intersection of identity and impact, it becomes more than a concept. It becomes a lived experience, one that evolves over time, but remains anchored in something solid and meaningful. You stop needing to prove yourself because you're already living in alignment with your deeper truth. You stop waiting for the perfect opportunity because you recognize that every day offers a chance to make a difference using exactly who you are. In that space where your authenticity meets your contribution, you find purpose not just in what you do, but in how you live. When you step back and reflect on everything we've explored, direction over destination, the difference between skills, passion, and purpose, the process of discovery, the durability of internal conviction over external applause, and the connection between identity and impact, it becomes clear that finding your true purpose is not a one-time decision, but a lifelong journey of alignment. Purpose isn't something you chase, it's something you uncover by paying attention to what matters most, both within you and around you. It's built slowly through reflection, intention, and contribution. It's not about being the loudest, the most followed, or the most praised. It's about becoming the most honest version of yourself and using that honesty in service of something greater. Purpose gives your effort meaning, your challenges perspective, and your success depth. And when you live with it, you don't just achieve, you contribute. You don't just succeed, you matter. That's the difference. And that's the invitation to live not for applause, but for alignment, to stop waiting and start becoming, to move not with fear, but with purpose, one step, one decision, one day at a time.